Hey everyone, Diesel15 and Julio15 Bonjoli here. We're doing sports tonight and probably weekly when summer comes up with my sports guy, Curtis.
Hello.
If you want to follow him on Twitter, it's Curtis_Murray. I'll probably put the link up in the description down there so you guys won't have to look too hard. But we're going to start it with the NHL, and do we want to do tonight's games?
Yeah, let's do tonight's games. The games have already started and most of them are over already, but we've kind of committed ourselves to not looking at the scores at all. So we're making our predictions based on what we see in front of us, which are the games and nothing else. So if you want to take it, Julio, you can go for it. Let's start with Friday's games, I guess. Let's go with the New Jersey Devils versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who do you got?
I was going to say Tampa Bay. I'm going to have zero reasoning behind any of my picks, but I'll just be like, boom, 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 and I just won't think. I'll just pick teams.
Okay, well, I'll explain a little bit my predictions. I'm going to go with the Lightning as well, just because it's John Cooper's first game as a Lightning head coach, so I think they're going to have a little bit of oomph, and they played well without...
Dallas has a lot more potential and experience than the Wild, because you don't hear about the Wild at all.
You see, like, the Dallas Stars, they play so well against the Edmonton Oilers, and so do the Minnesota Wild. They both play really well against them, but judging, the Wild are on fire right now. I'm taking the Wild in this one. They are, Ryan Suter's been playing like a Norris Trophy winner. Zach Parise's been awesome, and they've been just solid all around. They're first in the Northwest Division for a good reason. They're above the Canucks and everybody else, so... I'm going to take the Wild in this one on the road, I guess. And I guess we got our last game tonight is the Columbus Blue Jackets after a hard-fought-out loss to the Oilers against the Calgary Flames. The first game without Jarome Iginla on the team. He was still on the team when they played the Colorado Avalanche. First game without Iginla in the lineup and off the team is altogether. Who do you got?
I'm going to say Columbus just because I think Calgary is going to be set back a little bit from missing their captain and always having him there behind their back, kind of patting them like, yeah, you're doing a good job, good job. I feel that Calgary's going to struggle for a few games until they try and find someone who can do that back, or at least attempt. And who knows, Jerome, if he goes and Calgary all of a sudden starts playing phenomenal, maybe it was a bet, like maybe it was a good choice. Who knows?
Maybe, I think you're right. I think in the long run, definitely Calgary's going to suffer. They've had to change their team for a long time. They were denying it for so long, but the signs were there. They were struggling. They weren't getting in the playoffs. They were not at home, and the Columbus has been abysmal on the road, and they played last night in Edmonton. So that's what I'm going to base mine on. But you could be very well right. All right. So tomorrow's games, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games tomorrow night in the NHL. Saturday night hockey. You gotta love it. First game, the Boston Bruins taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Used to be a really big matchup, but Philadelphia's fallen off the radar as of late. Who do you got in this one?
I think it's going to be a close game because Philadelphia always can surprise everyone with their huge games and blowouts, but Boston's actually been playing really well this season, so I think for that I'm going to have to go with Boston.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Boston's been playing really well as of late, even though they lost out in the Jarome Iginla sweepstakes, and we'll talk about that trade in a bit, but... this is, Boston's playing so well. They got so many weapons and they're so big. And Philly, I learned today they got 2 of their defensemen, Andre Mazzaros and there's another one, I can't remember his name, but 2 of their big defensemen are down with injuries. They don't have Pronger anymore. They're losing a lot of guys, and so they're going to be so tough. And Brizgalov has been awful. Like, they've been awful. So that was a real bad pun. I tried. It did not work. I won't do it again. But no, Brizgalov has been awful. So I'm taking Boston in this one. The New York Islanders are also playing tomorrow night. They're taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. I believe they'll have Jarome Iginla on the lineup. I haven't confirmed that or anything. But what do you think about this one?
I'm gonna say Pens just because the Pens are gonna have such a strong forward line, and still
Jarome Iginla, before they got Douglas Murray, before they got Brendan Morrow, they just kept upgrading, and they haven't lost anybody off their roster. So how are you going to beat them when it comes to playoff time? And people will say, well, they'll mix up their chemistry and everything. You know what? They brought in Brendan Morrow, the captain of the Dallas Stars. I think he knows a thing or two about chemistry and what can and cannot happen. Douglas Murray is a pro. I'll be huge for them. So I'll take the Pens in this one.
Before we
go for it.
I have a question for you. How many captains do you think a team can have?
Well,
I'm talking about the Pens because they just got Brandon Moore from Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
With Jerome McGinley, who just came from Calgary, and they got Sidney Crosby.
Well, yeah, like
are they just gonna be like stacking up as many captains?
Nah,
Ethan Morrow and Jason Smith are probably.
This is getting off topic, but I think Jason
most likely will happen a lot in this, but
I think Jason Smith was a better captain than Ethan Morrow, just because I think Jason Smith played his role very well.
Yeah.
When Ethan Morrow became captain, he took the stupidest penalties you could ever imagine.
And he took injuries like every third game and be out for 4 weeks.
Well, and look at the captain we got now in Horkoff. Yeah. Although I will admit that Oilers play so much better with Horkoff in the lineup. Let's get back on track here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
we'll talk about this all later. But.
Yeah, we're getting there. So where were we? The Carolina Hurricanes. They're in Washington and they take on the Capitals. Alex Ovechkin's been on a tear. What do you think? Can the Hurricanes calm him down?
I think so.
Yeah.
Not just because of the jersey that I'm wearing. And I might give a little insider to this later. But I just think, well, from what I heard, Washington, yes, they have these random streaks that they all of a sudden win. And Alex Ovechkin has the skill to walk around every single person on the ice and put the puck in the net. But he just doesn't. Like, that's my big thing. It's like, oh, we're down 4-2. Put me out there, coach. I'll put 2 pucks in the net for you. Like, that's how I feel Alex Ovechkin plays.
You see, like, Ovechkin's is a star talent, and I think, he still has it in him. I agree with you. I think a bit of it's motivation, but I really do think the head coach Adam Oates is getting somewhere with him. He's been playing a lot better as of late. He's got, I believe it's 5 goals in the last 7 games. I think he's getting to a point where he's able to maybe bring that level back. It was always Crosby. So I'm going to take the Capitals in this one. They're getting really hot, and they're creeping up in the standings. The Rangers and the Flyers are still down there, but the Capitals keep on moving up, and they're going to pressure in the East for the 8th and final playoff spot. But we'll see about that.
And the one thing I think is interesting too, how Ovechkin.
A couple of years he's just been so down just because everybody was starting to call him out on his play in either in his own end or the fact that he was getting goal totals of 62 and getting assist totals of 30. So he was scoring more than he was passing. Yeah. So I think maybe that was getting a little bit in his mind. For some reason, when he's been playing a lot better as of late. But I think the game would be a lot better if Ovechkin comes back to that level where it's Crosby versus Ovechkin. That's what the NHL wants.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to get to that level yet. But Adam Oates is doing a good job with him right now. Let's go to the Montreal Canadiens battling out the New York Rangers, who are really struggling right now.
I'm going to say, no question, Montreal, just because of Pacioretty and a few of the other star players from Montreal being able to tic-tac-toe the puck right in that.
The Montreal's playing so well right now. I'm going to take the Rangers only because I have Henrik Lundqvist in the pool. And he has been burning me this entire... I took him so high in the draft. Jonathan Quick went like that for my goaltenders. So I had Henrik Lundqvist last year and Jonathan Quick. Didn't get Quick, but I got Lundqvist back. So I'm like, okay, 1 out of 2 is fine. And the Rangers have really started to tank. And I'm going to pick them to win this. I don't think they're going to win it. I think Montreal's still doing really, really well. They're going to be in a top 4, top 5 playoff spot in the East. They're doing so well. They've exceeded my expectations. I didn't think they were going to be that great this season.
Yeah, nobody ever really thinks that Montreal's going to.
Well, like last year they were 15th in the Eastern Conference. What do you expect this year? I thought they were going to maybe challenge for a spot, but probably not get one. They're doing so well. So I'm going to take the Rangers, and I think John Tortorella gets fired after this season if they don't make the playoffs. I think that's it. He's run his course there. The Toronto Maple Leafs. The one that we'll probably watch Hockey Night in Canada because we get all the Leafs games for some reason. They take on the Ottawa Senators, who no Carlson, no Spezza, no Anderson, but they still win hockey games and they're ahead of the Leafs in the standings.
How does that happen?
I don't know. They're an
that is our biggest bewilderment because the Oilers have been struggling with this ever since 2005, 2006, when we've had our star team that took us basically to the playoffs. We've been peppered and peppered and peppered with injuries.
Yeah.
But once we get these injuries, we can't perform.
Well, and
our team just basically shuts down because they're so overwhelmed with what they have to take over.
You talk about a Norris Trophy winner in Henrik Karlsson, and he's out of the line, or Erik Karlsson. Yeah, it's Eric. No, it's Eric.
Yeah.
I was making sure Erik Karlsson. Sorry. You know, he just brings a different package to the game every single night. You know, and when you take him out of the lineup, you look at the defense and it looks pretty ordinary. You know, Gonchar's been getting old, and Methot, you know, same sort of thing. And the young guys are doing well, and Gonchar's having an excellent season. Who would have thought that? Jason Spezza, your number one line center. What's going to happen with, you know, when he's out of the lineup? You don't think he's going to do that well.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think this team is going to be able to perform, but they've stepped up. They've played as a team. I'm going to give Paul McLean a whole lot of credit just because, you know, they've been playing so well. Who do you got in this team? Because this could go either way. You know, this will be a fun game to watch.
I think I'm going to have to go with Toronto.
You're going to go with Toronto, yeah.
I've got a few family members that actually really enjoy watching Toronto. And I think Toronto can...
Counted Ottawa out for the longest time, but they still keep winning. But I'm going to still count them out just because Joffrey Lupul's back in the lineup for Toronto. Yeah. Having I talked about Ovechkin, 5 goals in 7 games. Lupul.
I forgot who we were talking about.
Lupul has 7 goals in 5 games.
Wow.
Since he's returned. You know, so that he's been having such a stellar season, and I don't know why he couldn't have done it in Edmonton, but we're not going to get into that. So Toronto it is. The New Jersey Devils take on the Florida Panthers tomorrow night. This isn't going to be one that they'll show on SportsCenter for very long. Take on the Minnesota Wild tomorrow night. This is a back-to-back for the Minnesota Wild. Who do you like?
I think I'm going to go with LA just because I think the Wild are going to be a little fatigued from their first game the night before against Dallas. And Dallas is already a strong team. And then they got to step it up and play an even stronger team. So I think just for the fact that the Wild are probably going to be tired, even though they're going to want to play, I think LA is just going to outplay them.
I think the LA Kings, they got a lot of firepower in their lineup, even though they haven't been scoring much. And Jonathan Quick's having a pretty subpar season for him. But the Minnesota Wild, they're going to be in Dallas. Got to travel back to Minnesota. That's a long flight.
Yeah.
And it's their first game back after a road trip. Usually that means they're going to be in a lull. I like the Kings in this one all the way. I don't really think there's much question. We'll skip the Canucks in Edmonton. We'll move on to the...
Hopefully the second game that they show on Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that one in a bit, but we'll do the last one before we get into our team here. The Phoenix Coyotes, or the Quebec Coyotes, or the Seattle Coyotes, or... I don't know. Apparently there's a new ownership group that wants the Coyotes to stay in Phoenix. I just heard about it, so...
I did not even know that Phoenix was thinking about moving.
I know, it just kind of come up in the past little while, you know, but anyways, those Coyotes are taking on San Jose Sharks who, I will say this, those San Jose Sharks have been dominant.
So for that, I'm going to go San Jose.
Yeah, no, I like your pick. I like the San Jose Sharks. Coyotes, you know, they beat the Nashville Predators 7-4.
The Oiler, overtime, and special teams just hasn't really been performing, and for that, during that, they've had Whitney out on the ice.
Well, yeah, we can argue about that all
We'll probably end up ranting about
We'll get to the trade deadline in a minute, but you know what? I'm gonna say the Oilers somehow they come ready to play. I think this is, you know, they looked at the Columbus game and they said, you know what? We played like crap for the first 20 minutes, and I thought they did. They didn't play very well. They went to the break, you know, with a 2-1 deficit. You know, they were able to come back and get their way into the game, but. You know, I think they're ready. They're prepared for this game. They look at the Vancouver Canucks. They look at them and they say, you know, this is a team we've got to beat if we want to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, there's only 15 games left for them. They got to win this game. And you know, I think Corey Schneider's been playing really well lately, and I think he's going to get the start tomorrow. It's going to be very tough to beat him. But you know what? Bobrovsky was doing so well for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and look what happened last night. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Oilers in this one to just be a bit more honest with my team. I think they're gonna have a good chance at it.
And that's the thing. I never did say that the Oilers were gonna lose, but I think if it's tied, whatever score it's gonna be, when they get into mates that you don't realize have these defensemen that have the skill. Like for once, I wish Ralph Krueger would be.